This is my Premier League predictions for the 2026-27 season. I'll be going from 20th to 1st, talking about why I have each club in the position I have them in. I will also talk about who I think will be a key player for each team. Starting off at 20th, I do have Fulham. They've lost Marco Silva and replaced him with Arbeloa. I do think it's a step down, and I think that Fulham will start off quite poorly as they adapt to Arbeloa's systems. I do think that Fulham could even panic and sack him in around October time, which if they do, and they're bringing someone with more experience in the Prem, could see Fulham stay up. But as of right now, I do think they will go down bottom. As for signings, Fulham have brought in Kusiasaria for around 5.2 million. He was on loan and they've made it permanent. As well as Cesar Palacios for around 8.5, I think. He's a young attacking midfielder from Real Madrid. As well as Gonzalo Garcia for 34 million. Again from Real Madrid, which isn't a bad sign and he's just not Premier League proven. He is a very talented youngster though, and I could see him having a good career in the future. He's just not what Fulham need right now, in my opinion. They need someone with more experience of getting goals at this level, especially with them having a very young attack at the minute, and them having lost Raul Jimenez and Harry Wilson, which was a combined 29 goals, I believe, last season for them. And Fulham just doesn't have any replacement for that at the minute. As well as losing experienced players in Issa Diop and Sasa Lukic to Ipswich, which I think is a massive loss for them, because I think both teams will be in a relegation battle this year. To lose two experienced players to another team that's also in a relegation battle just isn't good business in my opinion. And I just can't see Fulham creating or scoring enough goals to steal. Coupled with that, Arbeloa will need time for his team to adapt to his systems. I just can't see them picking up enough points to stay up, unfortunately. So 20th for Fulham. As for the one to watch for Fulham this year, I think it's going to be Alex Iwobi. He's been great for them for the past few years and a staple in that Fulham side. Now, at 19th, I have Ipswich Town. I think that them losing McKenna is massive, and getting in Gary O'Neill isn't really an impressive or inspiring hire. He did do alright in his previous jobs in the Prem. I just don't think they have enough quality to stay in the division. They haven't really lost any of the big players, just players like Kyle Joseph's moving on really, that won't get minutes in the Prem. I do like the signing of Emerson for 24 million from Toulouse. He does look like he could be a good focal point in that attack for Ipswich. He might not get many goals, but I do think he will improve other players around him. Then they've also brought in Fatower for 20 mil from Leicester. I just think this is poor. I don't think he's Premier League standard, and they maybe could have got someone better for a similar price. He will be great in the Championship for them once they get relegated though, so I think that's the same for Maeda from Celtic as well. He will be better in the Championship for them. Moving on to two signings I do like, Diop and Lukic from Fulham for around 8.5 and 9 million for the two of them. I think that these signings just add quality and Premier League experience to the team, and that could provide some stability to the side and help them push for survival. But moving on to two players I am excited to see for Ipswich this season, Mehmeti and Jack Clark. I think both of these two were fantastic in the Championship, and I do think both of them could make the step up, and I'm excited to see them do it. I do think it will be a season of glimpses for Ipswich, as they'll show that maybe they don't have the quality right now to stay up, but some of the players will show that they are Premier League quality and could end up getting moves to Premier League clubs at the end of the season after Ipswich have been relegated. They've also signed Florentino Luis from Burnley for 16 million. It's an okay signing, he's good for squad depth. And then two Dutch goalkeepers, which I don't really know much about. But if Ipswich can get off to a good start and pick up some points early on, maybe they can stay up. But I just don't see that happening, so I've got them in 19th. As for the ones to watch this season, I do think it's Mehmeti. He was fantastic in the Championship and definitely ready to make the step up. And I do think he will get a move to a more established Premier League side towards the end of the season, maybe in January or next summer after Ipswich have been relegated. 18th, I have Coventry City. I do quite like Frank Lampard as the manager. I just don't think Coventry have the quality to stay in the Premier League. They made Onyeka's loan permanent, as well as they've brought back Rushworth for 22 million from Brighton. I think they're both great signings. Onyeka's quality, and he does have Premier League experience, which will be needed in the fight to avoid relegation. Rushworth is a quality goalkeeper who I think could go on to become an England international, and he will be important for them if they are to stay up this season. And keeping players like Jack Redoni, who I do think is a Premier League player, and we will see that this season. I just unfortunately think the teams around them have better players, better squads, and are more suited to life in the Premier League. So unfortunately I do have Coventry going down in 18th. As for the one to watch this season, I do think it will be Jack Redoni. He will show that he can make the step up to the Premier League and that he is a Premier League quality player. And I think that either in January or maybe next season, he will get a move to a team higher up the table. In at 17th, I have Newcastle. Now, they've sacked Eddie Howe quite late into the pre-season, which I do think is a bold move, especially for a team that's sold all their best players and brought in players that are quite young, as well as a manager in Yaisler that is quite young as well for a manager. He has come in from the Saudi League where he done quite well, as well as he did well at Red Bull Salzburg. You can pretty much predict how they're going to play under him. It's going to be very narrow, always going forward, lots of high pressing, intensity, energetic. They've brought in some new faces as well. Toure from Hoffenheim for 42 million. Bamba, a midfielder from Monaco, for 34 million. A keeper called Jawin from Reims for 24 million. Sean Sturr from Ajax for 23 million. Then on to outgoings, they've practically lost all of the big names, such as Tonali for 100 million to Spurs. Bruno's gone to Arsenal for 75 million. Gordon's gone to Barcelona for 69 million. And then Trippier's left on a free. I am sort of torn between Newcastle doing mint or crap this season. And I have decided on thinking that they will be quite bad this season. A lot of Newcastle signings have been quite young and inexperienced, which I can see playing a part in them finishing lower in the table. But I do quite like Yaisler as a manager, and I can see him getting a tune out of this team. And I think they'll be better towards the end of the season, when the players have had time to adapt to the new system and the new manager, as well as they do still have a good spine of the team there, which will be very important for them in my opinion. But I can see them having a poor start, which will kind of affect them for the rest of the season, I reckon. As for Newcastle's one to watch this season, I do think it's going to be Chow. I can see him being vital for Newcastle this season, and he'll play a crucial role in that Newcastle defence. Now at 16th, I have gone for a bit of a gamble, and I've gone with Hull. Honestly, they've not done much as of yet in terms of transfers, but I do think their owner is the type to spend a lot of money. I believe that they will, and I think that'll be on players that add quality to the side that can come in and help them stay up, and players that'll transform them from a Championship side to a decent bottom half Premier League side. As well as I like the manager that Hull have got. He's comfortable with his team playing without the ball, which will suit them in the Premier League, especially if they can add players that can add creativity and goals to the side, and that will be important if they do want to stay up. As for transfers Hull have made so far, players going out that haven't really lost anyone that's majorly important to Hull. They've not brought many in as of right now. Jack Butland on a free from Rangers, as well as Matt Targett on a free. I think both of them are good experience to the team. And they've brought in Morita from Sporting on a free as well. He's a very good technical midfielder and could be the heart of that Hull midfield, and very important for them if they are to stay up. They've also bought a goalkeeper for 20 million from Olympiacos. I don't really know much about him, so I'm not going to speak on him. As well as a midfielder called Hierto Dahl from Tromsø for 8.6 million. And I know a lot of clubs have been looking at him. He looks to be a good young midfielder that you can build the squad around. I think he'll be good for them this season, but I do think he's more of a long-term prospect than a player for now. So I think Hull will surprise a lot of people, and I could see them doing quite well if they get the players in and spend the money that they said they're going to spend. So I think that they're going to finish 16th. As for Hull's one to watch, I do reckon it will be Movida. I do quite like the look of this signing. He's a technical midfielder that'll look to dictate the game from the middle of the park, and I can't wait to watch him this season for Hull. So at 15th I have Crystal Palace. I think that they'll be fine this season. A new manager in Pierre Sarge, he doesn't really have much experience, but it feels like they found someone who's very similar to Glasner, and he has a very similar style. So he'll come in and not really change the way they play that much. He was at Lens last season and put up a fight against PSG, albeit it was sort of their B-side that they put out in the league, but he still had them in the fight at the top of the table. Incoming so far, they brought in Oscar Mingueza on a free from Celta Vigo, Tomiyasu on a free from Ajax, and I've seen that they might be swapping Brennan Johnson for Everton's Dwight McNeil. I think that Oscar Mingueza and Tomiyasu are great additions, both versatile. Tomiyasu being able to play anywhere across the back line, Mingueza being able to play on either wing and at wing back as well, which gives a lot of versatility to the squad. But they have lost arguably their best defender in Lacroix to Chelsea for 52 million. This is a big loss, I think, and I just don't think Tomiyasu is the right replacement for that. I think they're going to need someone else to come in and fill the gap that Lacroix has left. As for the swap deal between Brennan Johnson and Dwight McNeil, I think this is good for both clubs. Brennan Johnson just didn't really fit at Palace, and I think Dwight McNeil will fit. I think he suits Palace more than what Brennan Johnson might have, and overall I just think it's an okay deal. As for Palace's one to watch, I could go with someone safe like Wharton or Mateta, but I'm going to go with someone a little bit different. Raksaki, I think this could be the season he breaks into the Palace team, and if given enough game time, I believe that could happen this season. At 14th I have Everton. I don't think Moyes is a good enough manager to get them higher up the table, but I like the look of the squad, and if they were to get a better manager, I think they could be challenging for Europe. They have lost two of their older players in Idrissa Gana Gueye and Seamus Coleman, two players who have been good servants to the club but have just come to the end of their career there, as well as the swap deal for Dwight McNeil and Brennan Johnson. Like I said before, it's a good deal for both clubs involved. Then they've made Tyreek George and Merlin Rolls loans permanent, as well as they've added probably the Championship's best player last season in Hayden Hackney for £16 million, and on top of that, Norgard from Arsenal for £7 million, which has just really strengthened that core midfield Everton have got. And I think with a different manager, they could push on to get Europe, just not with Moyes in charge, I don't think. So that's why I have them in 14th. As for Everton's one to watch, I'm going to go with Hackney. I think he's excellent and he will make the step up to the Prem. And I think he could go down as the signing of the season, potentially. But I do also think Tyreek George might have a breakout year as well. Now on to 13th, I have my team, Sunderland. We have a really good squad there, but we do have to deal with Europe this year. And with us only making one signing so far in Thomas Munier on a free, I don't think we have the depth to deal with Europe and the league, but I don't think we'll be in any danger of going down. I just think our squad is better than the teams who I have below us. And I think Reggie Labrie is a very good manager that can get the best out of the players we have. Then if we bring in a couple of more additions, I do think we could be further up the table. We have kept the core of our squad together from last season. I think players like Talby, Angulo and Lafay could have a really good year, and we'll show everyone why we are good enough to be at this level and why we are good enough to push for Europe again. But I think with the extra games and not adding any more depth to the squad as of yet, I can see us slipping down the table a little bit, but nowhere near enough to threaten relegation. So I think 13th is a good year for us. For the one to watch this season, I think it'll be Enzo Lafay. He'll become our star man this year, and he'll show everyone why he is so highly rated among Sunderland fans. In at 12th, I have Leeds. I think Leeds looked good last season at times, and if you look at the numbers, they were probably better than what Sunderland were, but football's played on grass, not paper, so that's why Sunderland finished high last season. But the signings Leeds have made so far have been great. Harry Wilson on a free, Mihramovic from Sassuolo for £34 million, and James Trafford for £45 million from City. And the most important loss has been Pascal Struijk to Brighton for £20 million. But I think Mihramovic is an upgrade in that department, as well as Wilson adds goals and assists to the team. James Trafford easily becomes one of the best goalkeepers outside of the top six. I could see Leeds nicking a European spot with the team they've assembled. I just don't really rate Farke as a manager, because last season during games they had like 10-minute bursts where they would dominate but wouldn't really do anything else for the rest of the game. So if they were to bring in a better manager, say Frank Lampard from Coventry, I could see them easily getting a European spot. But while Farke's in charge, I'm having them 12th. As for the ones to watch, I think it's going to be Harry Wilson. He'll bring goals, assists and excitement to this Leeds side. 11th, I have Nottingham Forest. Oliver Glasner is the new manager. We know what to expect from Glasner, and we know that he'll get performances out of this side. They've brought Schlager in from Leipzig on a free, Ousmane Diomande for £34 million from Sporting. Schlager has played under Glasner before, so he'll know what to expect from a manager in Glasner. Diomande is one of the best young centre-backs in Europe in my opinion, and he's someone that they could build the squad around. But they have lost Anderson to Man City for £116 million, which if you're going to lose your best player, you want them to go for that sort of price tag. But I think Schlager will be an adequate replacement for him, and I do think 11th is a solid first season under Glasner. As for the ones to watch this season, I think it'll be Morgan Gibbs-White. He was the best player last year, and I think he'll be the best player this year. We sort of know what to expect from a player like him. Bournemouth's in at 10th. I think the new manager in Marco Rose is a great appointment. He was great at Leipzig, but it will take time for him to get going at Bournemouth, I think. With European football, this could cause them to slip down the table a bit. They have got a good squad, and I can see them doing well in Europe as well. They have lost Senesi to Spurs on a free as well, and Unal to Getafe on a free. However, I think the recruitment has been mint. Rodriguez for £22 million from Elche is an upgrade on what Unal was, and Antonio Silva from Benfica, again one of the best young centre-backs in Europe. It could go down as one of the best signings of the season, as well as they've got a right-back called Sanchez from Sevilla for £9 million. I just think the business Bournemouth have done so far has just been upgrading the squad really. Rose will look to play more attacking football as well, which could lead them to be caught out a bit more, causing them to drop points here and there, which could see them slip down the table. But for Rose's first season in English football, 10th isn't bad. I do think a lot of Bournemouth fans would take 10th. As for the one to watch this season, I think it'll be Alex Scott. He'll have another really good year. He's just a great footballer, isn't he? At 9th, I have Brighton. Brighton managed to get themselves Conference League football last year. This will add to the number of games they have to play this season. I do think Brighton have good enough squad depth to combat this. Just the teams I have above them don't have the added games or have better overall squads. But I can see Brighton having another good year, so 9th. They have lost Van Heck to Spurs for £52 million, Welbeck to Chelsea for £5 million, which are two big losses. They have brought in a couple of centre-backs, Struijk from Leeds and Vuskovic from Spurs. Both great mid-table Premier League centre-backs, as well as a right-back from Olympiacos for 11 million, which I think covers their defence really well. All they really need to do is bring in a 9 that can get them goals, or hope that someone like Evan Ferguson can find his form again. But we'll just have to wait and see. So for now I have them 9th. As for the one to watch, I do have Matt O'Reilly. I think this could be the season where he makes the step into the Brighton squad, and he'll show everyone why Brighton bought him in the first place. Brentford in at 8th. Keith Andrews is a great manager. I think they can build upon what they did last season and take the extra step into getting into Europe. They've lost Jordan Henderson to Chelsea, but they've replaced him with Sangara for 41 million from Lens. This is another signing that I think could be signing of the season, and could be the difference between getting Europe and not getting Europe. So I have Brentford in at 8th. Brentford's one to watch is Sangara. I think he's going to show everyone that he's well worth the money they've paid. 7th, I have Spurs. De Zerbi took charge towards the end of last season, and so far has spent a lot of money this window. He has got Dubravka and Andy Robertson on a free, as well as Senesi, and then he spent 52 million on Van Hecker from Brighton, 86 million on Fernandes from West Ham, and 93 million on Tonali from Newcastle, which has really bolstered the midfield and added a lot more quality to that side, with Fernandes being better in tight spaces while Tonali being better in big open spaces. I still think Spurs need to really add to their attack if they are to progress up the league. The lack of goals could be a worry for them, but I think 7th is a massive upgrade on where they finished last season, of course. Of course, I do think De Zerbi can get them up there again. So Spurs are at 7th for me. The one to watch for Spurs this season, I think, is going to be Fernandes. I think he can really catapult them back into the fight for Europe, as well as help transform this Spurs team. In at 6th, I have Aston Villa. 6th is fair for Villa. They have Champions League football to deal with this year, and I think that could play a factor in them slipping down the table a bit. They have lost players such as Tielemans to United for 35 million, Digne to PSG for 6 million, as well as the big one, Rodgers to Chelsea for 118 million. With them losing them players of importance, it could see the performances take a bit of a hit. They have replaced Tielemans with Manzambi from Freiburg for 52 million, as well as Gomez from Wolves for 34 million, which are two great replacements. They've got Garnacho in on loan from Chelsea, which I think if any manager can get a tune out of him, it will be Emery. And I can see Villa staying in and around the fight for Champions League football again. I just think the teams that I have above them are better this year. So I have Villa in at 6th. As for the one to watch, I think it's pretty obvious that's going to be John McGinn. He's arguably the best player for Villa, and he always seems to perform for them. 5th, I have Liverpool. I think it's hard to know how it's going to go for them under Iviola, because he plays such opposite football to what Slot was. Slot's style was very easy for the players to pick up, which brought them success pretty early on, but then he got found out in a second season. Whereas Iviola's style will take a lot more time for them to understand and perfect, but it will bring them success in the long run. The squad does need a lot of work for it to suit Iviola's style. It will just take time for them to get used to it. They've got Victor Munoz for 34 million, as well as Araujo from Barcelona on loan, but they have lost key players such as Salah, Robertson and Canade on a free transfer. Araujo does look like he's been brought in to cover the multiple injuries Liverpool have at the back. They still very much need a right winger, as well as someone that could cover for Van Dijk, and maybe a defensive midfielder. There is still a lot of time left in the window for them to do this though, but ultimately I think it comes down to how quickly they adapt to Iviola's system. So I think they will come 5th, which is very much still a good year. As for the one to watch, I'm going to say Isak. If he can stay fit, we will see why they spent all that money on him last year. 4th place, I have Chelsea. I do think they are very much a side that could finish literally anywhere this season, with Alonso as the new coach. We will see them becoming really good at adapting to teams that they come up against. This will make them very hard to play against, especially with a young squad that has a lot of energy. Alonso is trying to change the culture within the club. You can see this with the signing of Jordan Henderson and Danny Welbeck, as well as bringing a Premier League experienced centre-back in Lacroix for 52 million from Palace, and Rodgers for 118 million from Villa. However, they have lost Cucurella to Real Madrid, and I think that's a big loss for Chelsea. But I think it ultimately comes down to how much the owners listen to Alonso and not trying to do things like they're playing Football Manager, just buying all the best under 20 players in the world. This is very much a transition year for Chelsea. With them not having any European football, they can focus more on the league, which is why I think they will get fourth. As for the one to watch this year, I do think it's going to be Cole Palmer. I think he's going to be the star man again for Chelsea this year, and show why he should have been taken to the World Cup. At third, I have Manchester United. I do really like Carrick as a manager, and if you look at last season, just from his time there, he would have had United top of the league. However, they do have Champions League football to deal with as well, and if they can bring in a couple of extra players, maybe a left back, a centre mid, they will have great depth, which will help them deal with the extra fixtures. I do like the signings of Santos and Tielemans. It adds a lot of depth and quality to that midfield, and sort of plugs the hole that Casemiro has left. And if they do end up getting in a couple of players, like I said, I could see them pushing maybe for a title charge. But right now I have them third. As for the one to watch, I'm going to say Marcus Rashford. I can see him having a really good year under Carrick and really establishing himself as a top level winger at Man United. And for me runners up, in second place I have Manchester City. City's new manager in Enzo Maresca usually likes to have total control of games as his style, and signing Elliot Anderson for 116 million helps do that. However, it does look like they're going to lose Rodri to Barcelona, which I think is a big loss, especially with City having a new manager this season, and I can see it taking time for Maresca's system to take hold at City, which is the reason I have them in second. As for the one to watch, I'm going to go with Phil Foden. I think he has something to prove to everyone with him being left out of the England squad in the summer, and this could maybe fire him up to have a great season at City this year. As for the champions winning the league, I have Arsenal. With all the teams around them sort of having transition years this season, I believe the title this year is Arsenal's to lose, really. And the only reason I think they will lose it is if they focus more on trying to get that Champions League over the line. Or maybe if the players are a bit exhausted from how much it took out of them to get that title last year. But with the two additions of Bruno Guimaraes and Solis, I think they've added enough creativity and quality to get it over the line again. And the squad just looks overall better this year around, I think. So I have Arsenal as the 2026-27 Premier League champions. As for the one to watch, I do have Solis. I think he looks like he could be a really good creative spark for Arsenal this year. And I think it could be the difference between them winning the Champions League, maybe. So, here is my final 2026-27 Premier League table. If there's anything you think I got wrong, or anything you think I've got right, please put it in the comments below. Thanks for watching.